This is Blenderstyle, the show where we discuss a blend of heavy and extreme music. On this episode, Exmortus, The Sound of Steel. This album was released in 2018 on Prosthetic Records. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I am not familiar with Exmortus. I think they've been around for a little bit. This is your pick, Casey. How'd you come up with this for us?
So yeah, they've been around since 2002, supposedly, when they formed. I heard Foehammer on Liquid Metal.
Oh, Liquid Metal.
Ago.
Wow, okay.
And I was driving around the oil fields, and like I always did when a cool song came on, I took a picture of the screen so I would remember.
That's funny.
And then kind of got into it from there. I don't know what album that song's on.
So you've been kind of checking them out for a while.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like a super fan or anything, but they've always kind of been in the background. Play them every once in a while, kind of thing. Check them out, kind of follow to see if anything new's come out. I don't think they've put anything new out for a year or two now. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a super fan, but I would say that, yeah.
I think there is something after 2018.
Yeah, so they have another album. It's an EP. It's
okay.
2 original songs, and then all the rest are like the theme from Psycho, Beetlejuice, Night on Bald Mountain.
Oh, that makes sense. And we'll get into this.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Are you familiar with Exmortus, Nate?
No.
This is the first time listening to him?
Yeah. So I actually didn't venture out. I've only listened to this album too.
Okay.
So I would call this classical influenced thrash metal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And like you were saying about, like, they did those covers of those, like, the theme from Psycho or whatever.
Yeah.
These guys are, whoever's in this band is an excellent guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
like classically trained or whatever. I don't think classically trained, but...
Maybe. I mean, honestly, they're that good to where you...
I mean, they're playing classical music on this, like literally playing.
So when this album came out, I guess the entire band had left except for the lead singer Conan before or right after their last tour cycle. Everybody was tired of touring because
this is a reoccurring thing for albums that Casey has picked.
Well, I
that's
didn't know
crazy.
This. I didn't know this until I was reading up on it.
Yeah,
I read about that too. Like lots of band changes for sure.
Yeah, and so after the last tour cycle, everybody was tired of all the touring to support the last album, and everybody pretty much quit. And he brought in the guitar player and the drummer from Warbringer.
Yeah, tight.
Yes.
And so he does main guitar, rhythm or lead or whatever, and then he has a guitar player from Warbringer and the drummer.
So is Conan the guy doing like the
vocals and the lead guitar
and like the crazy like technical like classical influence?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So it's almost shred.
It is. It's very shreddy.
But it's not like Yngwie Malmsteen or like Steve Vai. It's not like over the top guitar virtuosity.
Yeah, it's not classical shred in your typical sense.
But
It's a little more Randy Rhoads. But
that's his influence.
Randy Rhoads, though.
Yes, I listened to an interview with this guy, and he literally said Randy Rhoads. Yes,
because Randy Rhoads had those also like. I mean, wasn't over the. I don't want to say over the top, but it wasn't like this. You know what I mean? But
it's not.
Randy
overly...
Rhoads was definitely classically,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. This isn't overly technical.
No, it's not. But it
really
is good for what it is. Exactly.
It's definitely different, and because of the classical part of it, I thought it was thrash with sprinkling of like a melodic death metal actually, and I think it might be it's just the vocals that some of the death vibe comes from.
Even the drums, there's not like a ton of double bass, but the vocals are kind of death metal for sure.
I would say that they put a lot of double bass in it, but it's at strategic times.
Yeah.
There's more filling, I think, more fills and tom rolls and things like that than there is of anything else.
Like not like Cannibal Corpse drums at all.
No. But it works really well with the guitar, and for sure the guitar is the forefront of this. And
then there's occasional like almost power metal vocals.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's only on a couple tracks.
One song or whatever.
Yeah, I think one song, and then on the last song there's some really faint backgrounds at the very end.
And the guitar solos are really tastefully done. They're not like chaos, like
No.
a million notes that make no sense or like really thought out. There's
Yeah.
probably
He probably plays this exactly the same way
probably writes
every
the-
time he
yes.
plays this.
he probably writes the sheet music
He
for it, so
probably
he
does.
can remember it later.
You know, because you sometimes see a band live and they play it maybe a little differently or whatever. You know what I mean? These guys are probably spot on when they play.
Oh,
live.
probably. They give every chord on this time to breathe to where, yeah, like you said, it's not muddied up with a million different chords going on at the same time. It's very well structured.
That's definitely something I like about it. It's super technical, but it doesn't sound technical for the sake of being technical, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think kind of like we touched on it. They take pride in or it feels like they take pride in all this stuff, and they really want to show their musical ability more than they want to show flashiness. It feels like. So yeah, everything seems really well thought out.
I agree.
Well, I think it's just also they want to incorporate classical music because they're fans of classical music.
Oh yeah.
Obvious, you know what I mean? I don't think it's like you're saying. I don't think they're doing it because they want to show off that they can play. I think it's because they're fans of it and they're fans of, and that's one of my likes.
Because there's like Beethoven in this, right? Literally, they're doing a Beethoven song track cover.
What I like about this, this is the first time I ever heard this band, and so you sent it, and I saw the cover, and I was like, I hope I really like this because the album art is really sick. And then
it's like
it started playing, and I was like, yes, this is great. I love that it starts off and it kicks off. I love that the lyrics are about like battle and war. Like
that's true, dude.
I really love the vibe of it. I mean, like some of my
and it doesn't even sound technical out the gate. It like you slowly discover, you're like, wait a second, these guys are like playing really intricate stuff here.
Oh yeah, for sure. I really love how even the bass tone in it that pops through too. So it's definitely guitar driven, but you can hear every musician playing. And that's what I liked about it too, is like with the thrash sound, usually you don't get that. And with this, it was very like everyone was shining, and I liked that about it.
That's one of my likes too, is the musicianship. Like it's clear that these guys all know how to fucking play and whatnot, and especially the guitar solos. They're just really tastefully done.
Yeah. The drum solo or the drum tone on this is really good too.
Yeah.
Kind of like you touched, you could hear everything. You'll get points where the bass peaks out over everything else, but it's tastefully done. It's not like a mixing issue.
Oh, yeah, the mix is very well.
Yeah.
It's mixed very well. I think you can hear
And clearly, the guitar playing is obviously excellent. But I really like the guitar's sound. Like there's the chunky guitar, but when it's low, like the low parts are very like chunky sounding.
He's doing dives. He's doing squills.
But when it goes to like the higher notes, it's really clear and easy
crisp,
to hear all the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good contrast for sure.
So I was reading an interview about this, and they said that the title of this album wasn't necessarily meant to be a title, but meant to be a descriptive word. Because this is the sound of steel.
Like steel strings of their guitar.
Yeah, and it makes sense because this is, like you touched on, this is something like it portrays that battle with the lyrical content and the chaos that goes on throughout.
Yeah.
And it's got those moments where you shine, or where the music shines, and that's kind of the peaks in the battle where the good guys or whoever are taking over and winning. It's weird. It does a good job of portraying what it's saying in the music.
Yeah. I mean, with tracks like Strength and Honor, which are killer, I think that's even where
that's the high vocal,
vocals that are going on. And then, Victory or Death, when I see song titles like that, I'm already pumped, you know what I mean?
And
like, this is metal, man. This is it's cool. I think the lyrical content was really cool.
There's definitely a theme to it, right?
It's a package. It really is, yeah.
Like the cover art, it looks like a Conan the Barbarian book or whatever. One of the guys' names is Conan, right? That's his nickname or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's like a guy with a sword, like on some fantasy novel. And it's kind of sounds like that, but it's more than I expected.
Yeah.
Like it starts out at the gate like what it looks like and what I expect. But it's deeper because there's that really technical.
Yeah, it kind of drags you in slowly.
Yeah.
And they're also having fun with it, which is nice. You can tell that this band is just having fun with it, and I like that about it.
So the structures on this were really good. What didn't we like about it?
So there is the classical influence, and so there's like 2 classical tracks on this: A minor instrumental and Tempest, which is like a Beethoven and something else or whatever. It's just kind of cheesy to me. Like,
Yeah,
it didn't really do
Definitely
it
a dislike of mine. Like, why did you put that in there?
yeah. I feel like they kind of slowed the pace of the whole album.
for me. Like, we get it, dude. You can play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to prove it. You've already proved it through this whole.
Yeah, is this
freaking
homework
album.
you're turning in for some class?
So one of the other things I didn't like about it was I felt like Strength and Honor was one of the higher end tracks for me, but I really wish they would have used those higher vocals more throughout.
I agree.
That's a big dislike for me too, is the lack of vocal variety. When they do the higher pitch, like power metal
It's
stuff,
refreshing.
it's so good. I wish this was more like a band like 3 Inches of Blood, where they have the 2 contrasting vocal, but it's happening the whole time. That was like a teaser. If this band is listening, which they're not, they should definitely keep doing that.
So another thing that I didn't like about this was I feel like the last 3 tracks on this album were kind of filler.
Me too.
Like this whole album was really good and had a great build up and a great pacing throughout, and then the last 3 tracks just kind of like, it's like, hey, we need a couple more tracks for this. What are we gonna do, guys? And they threw those in there.
I think it's also because one of my dislikes is they have a formula and they stick to that formula kind of, and I think that's why it gets a little.
Yeah. There's not a lot of variety.
Yeah.
As much as there is variety, there's not a lot of variety. There's that formula that they stick to. I feel like, the last 3 tracks aren't bad. I think the third to the last was the Tempest, which is the.
You're saying filler, Nick. Like, I went to post something about this on social media, and I wanted to use one of the songs from this album. I couldn't even think of what song I liked that much.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at. Like,
it's like all filler.
I think it's not necessarily all filler, but it all follows the same structure. And I feel like maybe after Tempest, the last 2 tracks, like Tempest, and then the last 2 tracks, Riders of Doom and Victory or Death. Victory or Death is kind of probably the best out of those 3. But I feel like they changed the formula and kind of drug the pace down. They're not bad songs, but I think had they been thrown in the middle and maybe closed out on some better tracks, it would have kept the album fresher.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing that pops out here necessarily.
Other than the highs and Strength and Honor, I'm kind of the same.
And then nothing grabs me either, yep.
Yeah, I wish there was a little bit more that grabbed me. I do like that it's kind of a headbanger. I like, when my first initial listen to it was I was hyped, I was pumped. My third time I listened to it, I was kind of like, okay, I've heard this. But there are definitely tracks on here that I'll go back and I'll listen to. Maybe even the album for sure. But yeah.
So what would you give it for a rating then?
I give it a 3.0. It's not bad at all. But it's not something I'm always going to listen to. But it's, 3.0.
I give it a 2.7 out of 5. It's pretty good. The guitar playing is clearly excellent. It just doesn't really grab my attention that much.
Okay.
What about you, Casey?
So I give this a 4 out of 5. Good albums, great musicianship, great talent. I'm kind of with you guys. I feel like if you take everything before Tempest, it's easily like a 4.5 album for me. But I feel like those last 3 tracks kind of drug it down. I'm with you. I feel like it could have done without the instrumentals. They're cool, but they don't really go with the flow of this album. And like you said, there's not a whole lot in here that's going to stand out. Maybe if you listen to this album 100 times and the songs, like you memorize them, you're like, oh, I could call back and remember that. But there's nothing on here except for Strength and Honor to me that really sticks out. One cool thing about this, though, is this band was formed when Conan was 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
So these guys are young.
These guys are young, but the fact that he still has a band that he formed in junior high school that is still going.
That's really rad,
even if it's not all the original members, but the fact that he's able to keep this thing going, that's pretty good.
And his name, his nickname or whatever is Conan.
Yeah.
That's badass.
That is pretty cool.
I would say that's I
That's
like
a
a lot
mine.
of the I like a lot of the imagery. I love the lyrics and stuff. I don't know. There's a lot there. I think maybe I need to listen to it more, and maybe my rating might actually go up.
This is one of those albums that, I feel like you need to give it a really long time to soak because there's so many little intricacies in there that peek out when you listen to it more. I'm just excited to see where they go after this. I feel like they've progressed every album since their first one, and I'm excited to see where it goes from there.
I did listen to some of their other stuff, and it's kind of like I think this is one of those bands where you just get into them as a whole band, and you just kind of enjoy their whole discography.
Exactly.
This is Blenderstyle. That was Exmortus, The Sound of Steel.
Conan the Blindarian.